My Life with Andrew Gurza.
So thank you everyone again for joining me on my next episode of My Life With. Today I'm with Andrew Gurza. So if you would like to introduce yourself, Andrew.
Sure would. Hi, my name is Andrew Gurza. I'm a disability awareness consultant, crippled content creator. I'm the co-founder of the Handy sex toy company. I'm a podcast host. I'm your number one queer cripple. I'm a whole bunch of things. I'm a wheelchair user. Hi, my name is Andrew Gurza.
So perfect. So many things. I love it. Do you want to kind of elaborate on everything that you do?
There's so many things I do. What am I doing right now? I'm a podcaster. I run the Disability After Dark podcast. So that's all about sex and disability, which at some point you'll be on. And I'm a speaker, so I give talks around my experience of queerness and disability. I've done porn for disability representation. I'm starting a sex toy brand with my sister, which is really weird and odd and fun.
Just perfect.
It's so weird, but I love it. I'm doing so many things, and that's why I don't call myself an activist. I call myself a consultant, because that allows me the freedom to go into a whole bunch of different spaces and just make sure that somewhere in there disability is represented.
Yeah, I love it. And I guess in terms of even the word activism and activist, traditionally, it's almost like it's a voluntary thing. Whereas we need to move away from that, because obviously employment for people with disability is just horrible. In terms of it's just low and there's not enough employment. So we need to shift that in terms of activism shouldn't be free either. In terms of dating and sex, what do you find that your experience has been? And I know that we could talk about this for hours, but what has your experience been in terms of even just go into your positive experiences, your negative experiences, even funny things that you found that have happened? Happy for you to take it wherever you want to take it, because I guess there is a lot of ableism in the world. So I'm assuming that you've probably experienced ableism in terms of your dating and sex life. So
okay, I'll start with positive. One of the really positive decisions that I made for myself about 3.5 years ago was to start working with sex workers. Was to start hiring sex workers, because I was dealing with so much ableism, trying to meet guys on Scruff and Grindr and all the apps that we go on to get dick, basically. And I was striking out. I was dealing with people saying oh, you're disabled and you're in a wheelchair and I can't do that, or it's scary, or oh, I'm so sorry for your life to be this way. And it just I was really frustrated, and I was like, well, I'm not getting the sex I want. I was working freelance a little bit at that point. I was making a little bit of money, and I was one day I was like, look, it's a lot of money to hire a worker, but it had been over a year since I had the kind of sex that I wanted, and my sex life was really sporadic and really I wasn't enjoying myself because I constantly had to deal with ableism during the sex. So I was like, well, what if I just hired somebody? And so I went on a website, hired a worker, and said, okay, well, I've never done this before, and I'm scared shitless about how this is gonna go, but we've been working together now for 3+ years, so it's been really positive in that we're not in a relationship per se, but we have a working relationship where he understands disability and he's learning through me, and it's really positive in that we joke about it. We have inside jokes about my disability that no one else gets, because we've been naked together, and it's really positive in that I made the decision. I didn't hire a sex worker because, oh no, my life is so sad and they came to save me from my poor, sad, disabled existence. I was like, no, I want the fantasy that everybody else is getting, and I'm not getting it in the conventional ways. So I was like, well, okay, I'll put down my money for an hour and see what I get. And I ended up working with somebody who had never worked with a disabled person before, told me that up front, and I was like, well, that excites me, because I now have the opportunity to teach you about disability while also getting what I want. So that's really powerful for me. And so we've forged this really intimate friendship that's when he's there, I show him my lift, I show him my transfers, we talk about disability stuff, and we get naked and have fun. So that's been a really positive experience and has really helped me to become much more confident in my sexuality than I was before, because before I'd meet a guy maybe once every 2-3 months on Grindr or Scruff. I'd have somebody come over and they'd always be super ableist, and it was just, quite frankly, it was exhausting. It was really exhausting. So I just got tired of it, and so now I'm broke all the time, but I'm happy and I get laid when I want to.
At the moment, like, are you going on dates and stuff? And if so, how are you like tackling? And because I just find it difficult in terms of like you date someone and then you sort of work out whether or not you like them enough, essentially, to get through all of the ableist bullshit and teach them and ableism. And then they get there, and then, you know, naturally you either just like move on, or like things happen and you break up, and then you have to like go through that whole process again.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm just like not even really dating because I just don't have the energy for it.
Yeah, I just don't. I would agree with you. I just don't have the energy. I just don't have the desire. And I mean, right now I'm not having sex anyway because of COVID. So like, right now everything's kind of just on a halt. So even with my workers, we're not seeing each other. Like I have one or two that I see now, because I was like, well, I want some variety, so I hired some, you know, different people in, and that's been good. But in terms of like dates, I'm a hopeless romantic. I would love to go on like the date with somebody and like walk outside and hold hands and be all lovey-dovey and have all the feelings. But that's never really been something that's been offered to me, and that's never really been, that's something that I've tried to manufacture. And when I've gone on dates with guys, I've like pushed to that, like, oh, I'm feeling the feelings, it's so great, and they're like, oh, I don't know if I feel that. So like, it's never been something that's come super naturally for me. So it's not that I've given up on dating. It's just that I'm much like you, just exhausted by the whole experience.
And I think like also adding a different layer into it is like in terms of having a queer experience as well. I feel like gay men are just like not great at dating.
Oh, they're pretty shit. Like they're pretty. Like it's
like you're saying, like Grindr and Scruff and all that. It's just like I'm on it, but I just find that exhausting and just like ridiculous most of the time. So
because it's like, show me your dick, and if you don't show me your dick, then you're not then I can't speak to you.
yeah, but even it's just like just so much discrimination.
Yeah, there's racism, there's ableism,
Community.
there's like fat phobia, there's all this stuff that like you would think this community would like understand that this stuff is not cool, but yet we do it.
Fat phobia either. It's like, if you don't have abs, I don't value that. Like
Yeah. If you're like a little bit, if your tummy is like flat or a little bit like not so flat, or if your shape is a little bit pear-shaped, you're not valid.
No, yeah, it's really bizarre. So I find even like adding that makes it exhausting enough, and then we have like our experience of being people with disability, and I'm like, a recent positive experience you've had and a recent negative experience you've had.
Positive experience. I had somebody on Scruff tell me that I was really handsome the other day, and they didn't end it with like, oh, you're disabled, but you're so handsome. They just said you're handsome, and I was like, well, that's nice. Like, it's hard to have community interaction right now because of COVID, so like most of my interactions have been digital. I mean, and a lot of positive things have been happening with Handy, like people just coming into my inbox saying, wow, this is like, we really need this. Like that's super positive. A negative, I call myself a disabled stud on one of the apps on like Scruff the other day, and then somebody came into my messages and was like, I'm gonna call you an abled stud, and I was like, so I didn't tear them down. I just said, no, I'm really proud to be disabled. It's okay. Like, you don't have to diminish that. But thank you. I know what you were trying to do, but thank you. I'm very proudly disabled. And he was like, oh, I just don't get it. I just don't understand. And it was like 12 o'clock at night, and I was like, I just don't have the like energy to guide you through this. I just wanted to look at some dick before I went to sleep, and I got like, I'm gonna call you abled, and it's like, oh no.
Please don't.
Yeah.
Like, it's just not true.
It's just not factual. Just say what it is.
To be continued. Representation, handy, and accessible sex toys.